So something I started noticing on the G35 was that the steering just wasn't as precise as it was before. So naturally, as someone does, they scour the internet and start doing a bunch of research to see what could be the potential things that are going wrong. So I ended up finding out that the G35 and the 350Zs have something called a steering coupler. Starts wearing out, similar to how tie rods wear out and they start having play. The steering coupler on your G35 350Z ends up wearing out as well. So you start developing play and your steering just starts to feel not as precise as before. So that's what we'll be doing on the G35. We're gonna go ahead and address the issue, make sure that that gets replaced. I definitely want to replace that to get back some of that precise steering that I had beforehand. So you definitely want to do that as preventative maintenance, not only to get precise steering back, but also it is a safety concern. Not a lot of people are talking about this, but with G35s and 350Zs getting older and older, we're definitely gonna start seeing things in the community that should be addressed and definitely taken care of before it gets worse. Like I said, not only do you get the precise steering back, but you also get that preventative maintenance measure, making sure that that part doesn't fail, because it is the only thing connecting your steering wheel onto your steering system. So if that thing breaks, you lose all your steering and you could be turning the wheel and nothing could be happening. The odds of that happening could be very low, but I wouldn't take the chance, especially when the part is like $100 brand new from Nissan. So let me go ahead and show you guys the universal joint, the steering coupler, so that way you guys can take a look at it. Alright guys, so here is the steering coupler. The top part is what connects onto your steering wheel and the bottom is what connects to the steering rack. So this is the part that we're going to be replacing, and honestly it's a very simple removal and installation. Literally one bolt here, but I'll go ahead and show you guys under the car. So with all that being said, let's go ahead, jack up the car, and I'll show you guys the next steps. Alright, so with both wheels off the ground on the G35, we're going to be able to go ahead and look inside, find the steering coupler, which I already put a little bit of WD-40 just to make sure it comes off a little easier. It's only 2 bolts for this steering coupler, one at the top of the steering coupler and one at the bottom. After the bolts are removed, we'll be able to shimmy it out and then we can put the new one back in. First thing we're going to do is take off that top bolt right there and take off the bottom bolt right there. After we take that off, then we can go ahead and start shimmying off the steering coupler. Alright guys, so with the 2 bolts removed, we can go ahead and use a flathead screwdriver and use the flathead to start prying off the steering coupler. We're going to go under the steering coupler and we'll be right by this little blue plastic piece. You can use your hand on one side. After you get it off, you can slide it down from the steering wheel itself, making sure you don't move it too much. There is a line that goes on the steering coupler and also on the steering shaft from the steering wheel. So there is a line on this blue part right here to the rack and pinion. So it's not that difficult. Just make sure you don't keep turning the steering wheel because you will mess up your clock spring and that's going to be a whole nother thing. Alright guys, so here is the old one and here is the new one. The old one actually has a bit of play. So there is a slight little clunking noise that it makes. Something to know when installing this back onto your vehicle, making sure that you put the right side where it's supposed to go. This side is a little bit longer and then this side is a little bit shorter. When you're going to go ahead and install it, you want to make sure that this side with the longer ridge right here goes to the top, to the steering shaft, and this shorter side goes to the rack and pinion. That does make a difference, so make sure you do install it properly. Alright guys, so now with the bolts in, we're going to go ahead and torque it. So the torque that we're going to be putting onto the bolts is going to be 18 to 21 foot-pounds. So you do have a little bit of a wiggle room. I'm going to go ahead and just do 21 foot-pounds on both bolts. So let's go ahead and torque them. Alright guys, so it is that easy to go ahead and switch out your steering coupler. It honestly sounds a lot scarier than what it is. It's not that bad. It's just 2 bolts and making sure everything lines up properly. I'm thinking about doing a couple more of these types of videos on things that you should look out for and things that you should replace, especially once these cars start to age. So with that being said, let's go ahead and lower the G35 and go on the driving portion and tell you guys how it feels. Alright guys, so now we're in the driving portion and I wanted to let you guys know if it felt a difference or not. As far as the steering, I definitely feel a little bit less roughness in the wheel, if that makes any sense. I noticed that the steering wheel feels a lot easier to move. With the old one, I did feel that the steering felt a little harder to move and it felt a little gritty. Previously, the G35 would shake a little bit on the freeway when I would be driving around like 65, 70. I'd get a slight little shake on the steering wheel and I thought, you know, maybe it was the wheels that need to be balanced. This issue has been for a while actually, so this is why I decided that I wanted to replace the coupler. One, because I noticed that it was starting to go bad. Two, because I wanted to make sure I was safe. Three, because I want to find what that shake is. So we're gonna go ahead and go on the freeway right now, and I want to see if this fixed it or not. So we're in the freeway now and I'm going around 70 miles an hour, and I notice a very small shake now. It used to be a lot more, a lot worse. Now it's a very tiny shake. I mean, you can kind of see it on camera, but it's a very small shake now. My other thoughts were that it could be a wheel bearing, or it could be also the steering rack. I think those two things could also attribute to that. It's not that bad anymore as how it was before. If this didn't completely eliminate it, it at least made it a little bit better. All right guys, so that's gonna be it for this G35 video. I hope you guys did enjoy it. Like I said, the car still has that shake on the freeway. So the two possible causes for that could be the wheel bearings or the steering rack. I did check the wheel bearings and there wasn't any play, but that doesn't mean necessarily that they're not bad. Another thing I didn't mention is I did use my old wheels that were on the G35 and I put them in the front just to make sure that the wheels that I have right now aren't bent or out of balance. And with the other wheels, it did shake as well. So it's definitely not the wheels and it's something else that I need to figure out with the car. Apologies for not uploading as consistently. I do want to start uploading more consistent. But with that being said, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I hope you guys learned something. Definitely go ahead and check yours out for any play. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.